Is it all an illusion? Are we in a computer simulation created by a more advanced society? These questions have been asked for centuries, and modern technology makes it harder to dismiss them as science fiction. Let's discuss some compelling evidence that suggests we're living in a simulation, and how this realization could change our view of reality. The idea of us living in a simulation roots in the thought that as technological civilizations progress, they create more advanced computer simulations. These simulations can become so complex that their inhabitants start creating their own simulations, and the cycle continues. If we assume that we're in one of these simulations, it could explain the great silence of space, the absence of any signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. Think about it. Our computer games are becoming shockingly lifelike, so who's to say that our reality isn't just another simulation? Maybe the rules of our simulation dictate that we can't communicate with other civilizations beyond our simulation. This theory may seem wild, but our civilization is already creating more and more complex and realistic simulations, so it's not so outlandish to consider. But what if the answer is even simpler than that? What if we're really alone in the universe? This possibility is the scariest and most frightening one because it takes away our last hope. It's unnervingly straightforward, and we may not even want to consider it. To begin with, let's think about the immense size and level of complexity that our universe possesses. Many scientists believe that the odds of the universe developing in the way that it has are extremely remote given the complexity of the physical laws that govern our reality and the fact that these laws govern our reality. Some people even believe that the universe was created in such a way as to make it possible for intelligent life to exist. This idea is referred to as the anthropic principle. This theory has been met with opposition, but it does raise an interesting question. If the universe is so precisely balanced, could it have been created by intelligent design rather than by random chance? The idea that digital physics exists is one of the most compelling arguments that can be made in favor of the simulation hypothesis. According to this hypothesis, the cosmos can be conceptualized as a computer program, with the entirety of the universe's matter and energy being represented by binary digits. If this were to turn out to be correct, it would imply that the world we live in is nothing more than a simulation being played out on some kind of cosmic computer. Some proponents of digital physics point to the fact that our universe appears to be discrete and quantized rather than continuous and analog as evidence that it is a simulation. They say this shows that digital physics is correct. The peculiar actions of particles on the quantum level provide yet another piece of evidence for this theory. Particles are not considered to have definitive properties until they have been observed, as this is required by the laws of quantum mechanics. This phenomenon is referred to as the observer effect, and physicists have struggled to make sense of it for decades. Some researchers in the scientific community contend that the observer effect is in fact evidence of a simulated reality. According to this school of thought, the universe renders the characteristics of individual particles only when a conscious being is present to observe them. The work of philosopher Nick Bostrom provides what is probably the most compelling argument in support of the simulation hypothesis. In a seminal paper published in 2003, Bostrom laid out what he referred to as the simulation argument. He argued that if a civilization were to develop the technology to simulate reality, then they would most likely create many different simulations of reality using that technology. It is not out of the question that we are living in a computer-generated simulation of reality, taking into account the vastness of the universe and the apparent high probability of the emergence of intelligent life on other planets. In point of fact, Bostrom argued that there are only three possible outcomes. Either advanced civilizations tend to become extinct before developing the technology necessary to create advanced simulations. They develop the technology but choose not to use it, or we are almost certainly living in a simulation. Bostrom's theory was based on the observation that advanced civilizations tend to become extinct before developing the technology necessary to create advanced simulations. But this isn't the end of it. In point of fact, there are a plethora of arguments that could be raised in support of the simulation hypothesis. Have you ever given any thought to the idea that the universe is perfectly tuned? The fact that our universe seems to have been meticulously prepared for the emergence of life is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating things about it, isn't it? It would appear that the fundamental constants of nature, such as the speed of light, the gravitational constant, and the strength of the electromagnetic force, are all precisely calibrated to make room for the emergence of life. This fine-tuning has been interpreted by some scientists as evidence of a creator or a multiverse. However, it could also be interpreted as evidence that our universe is a simulation designed to support life. Some scientists argue that this is evidence of a multiverse. The fact that the simulation hypothesis can be tested is good news, although it's possible that we'll never be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we're living in a simulation. The hypothesis can be tested, albeit in a restricted sense. If our universe is a computer simulation, we might expect to find certain patterns or artifacts that would not be present in a natural universe. This is because computer simulations are typically designed to conserve the computational resources that are available to run them. For instance, some scientists have proposed that the fabric of space-time might be pixelated, or that cosmic rays might exhibit certain anomalies that would be difficult to explain in a natural universe. Both of these things would be difficult to explain if the universe were natural. There are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of events from the past that can be cited in support of the theory that we might actually be living in a simulation after all. Are you familiar with the concept known as the Mandela effect? It is a phenomenon in which a large number of people remember an event or fact in a manner that differs from how it actually took place. Many people, for instance, believe that Nelson Mandela passed away in prison in the 1980s, despite the fact that he was actually released in 1990 and passed away in 2013. The Mandela effect has been interpreted by some as evidence of parallel universes, but it could just as easily be interpreted as evidence of a glitch in the simulation. Some people have suggested that the Mandela effect is evidence of parallel universes. Quantum mechanics is yet another pillar of physics whose study reveals that everything might actually be a simulation after all. Remember that quantum mechanics is a branch of physics that describes the behavior of matter and energy on a very small scale. Quantum mechanics is also known as the theory of quantum mechanics. It is notoriously difficult to comprehend, and it appears to run counter to many of the preconceived notions that we have about how the world ought to function. Some researchers in the scientific community believe that quantum mechanics is proof that we are living in a computer simulation because it may be the product of the computer code that underpins our universe. So, what exactly does this imply for us moving forward? If we are actually living in a computer simulation, then our conception of what constitutes reality would need to be completely revised. We would have no choice but to come to terms with the idea that our entire lives, as well as the entirety of human history, are nothing more than a string of ones and zeros being processed by some kind of cosmic computer. It would also raise profound questions about the nature of consciousness and free will, such as whether or not we truly have agency if our thoughts and actions are predetermined by the simulation. The simulation hypothesis is, of course, a long way from being proven, and the vast majority of scientists and philosophers view it with a great deal of skepticism. They contend that the theory is based on a number of assumptions that have not been demonstrated to be true, and that it is impossible to prove or disprove the theory with absolute certainty. The fact of the matter is, despite this, that the concept is gaining support among some of the most brilliant minds in the fields of science and philosophy. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of our reality, the simulation hypothesis remains a compelling and thought-provoking concept. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Whether or not it is true, the implications are profound and could change how we view ourselves and the world around us. Do you want to know more? Why don't you like and subscribe so you can gain access to more content like this video? Also, feel free to explore our previous videos if you want to learn more about our universe. Until next time, take care.